fallacies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am Tenitria Williams and I am so excited to have you all here today. If you are watching, I would like for you to hashtag live and let me know where you're watching from. Share this video to your story, to your page, and tag all your friends. We're actually going to take a moment to do some tagging and sharing ourselves. Sabrina, welcome. So you guys, want to welcome my guest today. I'm really excited to have her, Sabrina Fisher. You are a certified financial counselor. And so again, welcome. Again, we're going to let people come in. We're going to share and tag. So if you have some people that you want to share this video with, I'm going to share it to a couple of places myself so we can get the people in. How are you, Sabrina?
I am doing well. I'm excited to be here today just to have this conversation around mental health and finances. Super excited.
Yeah, I just started to notice, and not now, it's not like this is a new thing, but obviously money is very top of mind for people. I was looking at some numbers yesterday, or some research yesterday, and I think it said close to 60% of Americans identified that money was their number one stressor.
Right.
That's a lot of people.
Yes.
If it's not number one, I bet you it's in the top three for
most
majority.
Exactly. Most studies do say that financial issues is in the top 5 for divorce, the top 5 for people reaching out to therapists for, some type of foundational things in order to get themselves well in that area. So it is a huge thing. So I'm glad to be here so that we can have these type of conversations and kind of tie some of the things together, as well as release some of the stigmas around mental health and your finances and talking about those things in open form.
Yeah. And I'm glad you talked about there's a stigma talking about money as well, because sometimes people that's one of those, and I understand that's a private matter, right? But sometimes I think the lack of being willing to talk about where we are financially and what's going on. And again, I'm not saying people have to go out and tell this is what I make. I'm not saying everyone has to say that those types of numbers, but there is kind of a stigma with talking about finances. And so today we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and we're going to talk about both of those things, right? So before we get too deep, why don't you share kind of who you are, about your journey, and how you became the Sabrina that we know today?
Let's see. I've always had a love for numbers. So numbers have always been my thing. That, and something that's probably lesser known about me is I like breaking things and putting it back together. Yeah. My dad used to sit the VCR in front of me and say, hey, do this. And I would fix or repair it. So as a child, I've always been kind of enamored by the how things work and get into the root of the issue. Didn't really translate that over to my grown life until some time in therapy, gathering the why I do certain things. So
Yeah.
that was very key in kind of understanding who I am. But for the education part of it is, I do have an MBA. I have been in the financial space for over 25 years. I became a certified financial coach a few years back. Well, actually, several years back now. Um, but I can run down all of those things. But the biggest thing that I say is most important is that I've been where most people are. I've been broke. And when I say broke, I'm talking about broke, broke. I'm talking about broke in the negative, even after my paycheck has cleared
Mhm.
my account. I'm still kind of like what they say, hustling backwards to get my finances, back on track or whatever. So I've been where all those statistics that you see that talks about, households not having $500 if an emergency or something out of the norm happened. I've been in those places. So
Mhm.
I understand where most people are so that I can help guide them beyond that, first by releasing the shame and guilt around being in those positions, because um, life happens and we
Yeah.
don't necessarily always have control over that, but we can pivot and get beyond whatever life has dished to us.
Yeah. So again, I appreciate you saying I've been there. And I think so many times people don't want to share that truth about them. It's just, oh, I manage my money so well. But people need to know that it does not always start. And I have to. Um, so let's be clear about that. But it doesn't always start with this six-figure job or this high paying whatever or inheritance or whatever, right? And so I think sometimes people feel a disconnect when people are talking about those who have obtained wealth and those who feel like they're struggling. They feel like it'll never be them or it could never be them. So when you were in that space, tell me how you felt like money was impacting your mental health.
Hearing the phone ring brought about anxiety. It was no longer looking forward to my phone going off and be like, oh, my friends are reaching out or my family is reaching out to
Right.
me. No, it's this big, you see this unknown number and immediately this thing in the pit of your stomach kind of hits you like, well, who's calling me now for money? And those things affect your body, affects your mental. It brings about so much trauma to your body because your body is responding to that phone call or that email or however the mail coming into your house and you're seeing past due notices. All of those things affect your mental health. It's hard to be happy when you know you owe God and country.
Right. No, that's real talk because there is a stressor in the back of your mind, even when you're at your son's basketball game or whatever. How am I going to pay this? Oh God, he can't get hurt because we can't go to the hospital. Like all of those things are always playing in your mind. So I do think that's really important that we start recognizing this is not just a happy-go-lucky topic. This is a serious thing that people need to understand how to address the money. Um,
Absolutely.
so kind of tell us about your journey as far as how you became on this financial track. Like what pulled you, not just I know you love numbers, but what made you go, yeah, but I don't want to be a math teacher. I want to look at the money part of it. What pulled you there?
Well, it's simple. Trying to dig myself out of a hole that I place myself in is why I turned financial. I've been working in the accounting space for a long time, so I know how to make the books work for corporations and companies. And I've been called upon to go out and help them with their finances. And it used to always strike me as odd that I can do this for these large corporations, but I wasn't doing it well for
Mhm.
myself. So I remember sitting in my cubicle and I was sitting in my cubicle in Hampton, Virginia, And one day it just hit me. Treat yourself like you do these businesses that you're being called out to monitor and do the books for. And once I started looking at myself as kind of like a business or corporation, and then looking at because a business tracks everything. They're tracking their finances, what's coming in, what's going out, what products that they are doing in order to affect their bottom line. So I just started looking at myself kind of similarly. And because of that change is the reason why I was actually able to switch my mindset on how I viewed my finances, which also then started triggering ways in which I can generate more income, build more products, as they say, so that I am able to dig myself out of this hole. But through divorce is how I actually started struggling financially. Um, and it set me back because I was spending, and I'm not putting it on my ex-spouse. I was spending as though I had two incomes still coming in the house. So my mindset didn't even trigger to me to go, okay, it's not two paychecks anymore. It's just you and what you are making that is going to be what you need in order to ensure that you are clothed, fed, housed, and your basic necessities are taken care of. So I had to do a lot of mindset shifting to get to the place to where I started looking at my finances and me differently to be
Yeah.
able to make the change that I have today.
Now you said a hot word, mindset shifts or changes. What mindset changes did you have to really look at to become more invested in your own finances?
Ooh, the first one is to know that I was not alone. So when you realize that you're not alone in your finance journey, no matter where you at, from low income earner to high income earner, once you start realizing that you're not alone in the journey, it kind of takes off some of the stigmas around the fear of saying I'm broke, or being able to come out and say I need help. So I had to be real with where I was, and where I was I was in a hole, and continuously putting my head in the sand was not going to get me out of the hole. I actually had to face and confront where I was. So I started tracking all of my expenses, and I realized in tracking some of my expenses that I was part of my own problem. It wasn't just the bills. I was emotionally spending because I was trying to cover up the hurt and trauma from divorce. So those pair of shoes was giving me a high. I
That's so
joke
deep.
about how many pairs of shoes I have, but it stems from a trauma.
So the first step I hear is we have to be willing to actually confront our finances.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and I talked about that last week as well. But I think, again, being able and willing to just go, I can't make a change if I don't even know where I am. Pastor Sean used to say all the time, track your numbers. And I
Yes,
was in my business, not tracking the numbers. I was making sure I had money to do what I needed to do. That's
right.
literally what I was like, okay, this is due. I got money to pay that. And then that's what I was doing. Went, okay, so I have to track my numbers. I
Yes,
started looking, go, okay, well, if I have this goal, this is what I have to make every month in order to hit that goal.
right.
Okay. So I'm close. What could I do to so I became more involved and intentional just by simply looking. And so many times I think we have people that are just, like you said, sticking their head in the sand because it's so much easier to not look at it, not look
Yes.
at your credit score, not look at all of those things. So now you are, oh, go ahead.
But not confronting it doesn't change it. That's important to know, that not confronting it is not going to make it better. Most of the time, it's going to make it worse. So you have to confront your numbers. You have to figure out where you are. You're not going to set out to go to California tomorrow and not look at GPS to see where what states I'm going through, what routes I'm taking. So until you start tracking your numbers to get to the destination, to bridge that gap of where you are and where you want to be, you have to sit down with yourself, and don't put any shame with it. Don't
Exactly.
hold on to it. It's where you are, and it's where you are whether you look at it or not. So it's
Mhm.
very important that you just sit down, take that breath that you need, and go, okay, God, here I am. This is what I have. Now I need that plan and roadmap to get me well.
Yes. Okay. I see people joining. I want you to make sure you're sharing this because I already know it's about to get really good. But I think we're already onto something. You have to be willing to look. And I tell clients all the time, and this is from a mental health perspective and a financial perspective. Like you said, locating where you are. If I call and say, I'm right here, can you tell me how to get to California? You'll have to say, where are you? And I go, right here. I'm too ashamed to tell you where I am. What's going to be your response? I can't tell you how to get there if I don't know where you are.
Exactly.
And so
With
I all the time I'm like, I said, you don't have to be ashamed of where you are. And if you don't want to stay there, that's all the more reason we have to know where you are. So I can give you directions out. So yeah. You wrote a book.
I did.
Woohoo, author. So
Yes.
your book is called From Broken to Banked. I like that
Yeah.
title. I love that title actually. What inspired you to write that book, and kind of give some I guess wisdom on the journey of what caused you to write that, and stuff that we may find.
So, what gave me the courage is long time ago, I asked God when I got to the other side of whatever that journey was for me, what do you do with the pain? What do you do with what you just went through? How do
Mm,
you repurpose it and repackage it in order to help others not go through the same thing? And not necessarily not go through the same thing, because that may be the journey that is set out for them based upon their actions or whatever. But just because it's your journey to go through doesn't mean you have to stay in it for a very long time if someone has given you the tools that is necessary to come up out of.
right, right.
So it was one of those things where I wanted to be able to help people come up out of, because if you're in it, here's how you can get out of it. And it's just my journey and me being real. The funny thing about it is I started this book years ago. And nothing that's in the book today is what was in the book years ago, because I wasn't, and I was just talking to Guy yesterday, was like, it is just so odd that you have all this, or I have all this work written and products in my head and on paper and in my computer that I haven't released. And the thing that I released in From Broken to Bank is not, I'm not saying it's totally different, but when I
Mm,
started focusing on the mindset part of it and getting that right, that's how all of it transformed. Like,
yeah,
because money and finances is not just math, because if it was math, we'd all learn the formula. We went through
right.
school. We know 1 + 1 is 2. So if it was as simple as just making your numbers balance, then we all wouldn't have a
Mhm.
problem with our finances, because we would be able to work the problem and get to the solution. But when you realize that your mindset plays a huge portion in how your finances and how you show up in your finances, it just changes the trajectory and the path that you're on as far as your finances is concerned, because you do have to work on some of those traumas that you have heard, and some of the traumas and things that you've heard from your childhood. You might have seen your parents kind of arguing about finances in your mind. That translate, when I get my spouse, I ain't gonna talk about finances, because finances is an
Mhm.
argument. Or you may you may see someone else doing something with their finances, or saying robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you think that it's always have to be this give and take. There's never no overflow, because
Right.
your mind is saying, I always have to be in this constant pattern of struggle with finances. And that's not true. We can live in overflow. We can live in abundance. The book helps you to set some guardrails on how you look at your finances and how you revamp your mindset around finances, so that you can say no without feeling guilty to that family member who always need a bill paid, or your girlfriend that always need assistance, or whomever that's reaching out to you, out to you. um just being able to have healthy conversations
Yeah.
around money, so that you're not, I think Sean always says, setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm.
Mhm.
So you're not doing that in your finances as well.
So tell us about some of the mindset shifts you had to make to go from broken to banked.
Whew. Some of the mindset shifts, I had to really realize that saving wasn't investing. Like, yes, I
Say it
had
again.
money saved up, but my money was sitting in a bank. It wasn't necessarily generating as much
Mhm.
income for me as it should be. So now I realize that my money is a tool, and I use it as such. And I give my money assignment. So instead of just having the money and paying the bills, no, I have things broken down into categories, to where this money is set to do this thing in the earth, and I launch and release that for that thing, and then it comes back to me. It's binary. Money comes and goes. You send it out, it comes back. So those are some of the strong mindset shifts that I had to do. Having money in the bank wasn't the same as investing. The bank account was growing, and the only person that was getting rich by having a large sum sitting in the bank was the bank, because it wasn't generating any money for me.
Yeah.
And
So I want people to
transparency.
let people, I want y'all to put that in the comment section. Saving is not investing. Because that's important. Because a lot of people they tell their kids, make sure you save your money. Make sure you save your money. But that adage has gotten a lot of people with high paying jobs that still don't have wealth.
Right.
So yeah.
And what let's in talking about wealth, or using the word wealth, is I also had to tell myself that I was worthy of wealth.
Mm.
Um and not that it was a huge leap to do, but when you're trying to overcome some of the things that you've heard in your childhood, and some of the things that you've done in adulthood, taking every credit card offer that comes and all of that, you have to change your mindset and realize that doing these things are not going to lead to me generating wealth. So in order for me to generate wealth, I have to think about my whole financial plan differently
Mhm.
than what I previously had. And I had to tell myself that I am worthy of wealth. I can build wealth. And I just
Mm.
have to hunker down and do those things that made me capable and set me up in the right places to build the wealth.
Okay, so savings is not investing. I'm actually worthy of wealth. And what was you said one more thing? I'm
Oh, no,
worthy
I'm
of
gonna act like Crystal now. You got to catch these nuggets while I'm saying it.
Oh man, it was
Because
something else about it was I'm worthy of wealth and
I can build wealth.
I can build wealth. Yeah. And again, I
Yes.
think though I wanted to say it separate. I wanted to say it the way you said it because they're all distinct. I'm worthy
Yes.
of wealth doesn't necessarily tell people that you're able to create it. It's like,
Right.
hey, if it comes, I'm going to be worthy enough to receive it. And I do think from a spiritual perspective, we have to receive, right? But there's also that part of, wait, I can create wealth. That's a mindset shift that people have to really understand. Can you talk more about that?
Okay, so creating and building wealth, most people think that in order to be wealthy, you gotta, or to start generating or going down that path to wealth, that it has to be some big number that you have to start with. But wealth building is more about consistency than it is anything else. Small changes over time creates a different outcome. So you just have to figure out what your number is based upon your research, your current resources,
Mhm.
and then build from there. $50, $10. But as you build consistency in paying down debt, paying off debt while building wealth, you're going to see a decrease of your liabilities and an
Mhm.
increase of your assets. And it starts to build that thing in you that says, you know what, I can do this. It's not as hard as I think it is. Open an investment account. Start
Mhm.
small. There are so many platforms out there that allow you to start small in building wealth, and just getting in the game sometimes is what you need to know that you actually can play in the game.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a single mom who's struggling to pay my bills, and I'm hearing you, and I say, that sounds great, but I don't have the savings, let alone money to invest. I am literally trying to make the last check kind of come close to this check so that we're eating. What feedback or guidance would you have for somebody who says, I really am trying to keep my head above water? The economy's crazy, inflation's crazy, all of these things. What would you say for someone who goes, I need to know from that space of I'm legit trying to make it.
Um, the first thing is breathe. I know that it
Mhm.
is hard. It is hard to look at all of the things that you have that's going out, and knowing that what you have coming in might not cover it. So breathe and give yourself grace. But in that, it's also time to get to work. Um, I used to think that the term budgeting was a bad thing, but when you do budgeting from a heal perspective, it gives you more of a roadmap and a spend plan of what to do with your money, vice just saying I'm trying to make sure I can cover everything. And inside a healed budget, you're looking from a value based standpoint more so than a budgeting to survive, and it kind of moves you from survival mode to thriving mode. But what you have to do is, again, it always start with assessing where you are. If you haven't written down what you have going out and what you have coming
Mhm.
in, it's going to be very hard for you to make changes because you don't
Yeah.
know where to
Right.
interject new stuff into it.
Yeah.
So please do that. Know where you are. Secondly, once you look at your income and your outputs, and you have looked at where you can trim the fat, it may be you need to look at where can I get more income. That could mean asking your job for a raise. That could mean doing something on the side. What do people always come to you and ask you to do? Somebody always coming to you to bake cakes or review homework or
Mhm.
help somebody's child with a math problem. Turn that into a business. I can no longer give you this service for free because it takes time away from me and what I need to
Mhm.
do to get my financials together. So now I'm going to have to charge that $5, that $10, or whatever the number is before to help you. And as you build the income, you'll start seeing the reduction of other things, but you can only trim the fat so much. So at
Right.
some point, you're going to have to increase what you're bringing in, what your money is. So you have to look at that, and you can't do any of that until you actually assess where you are.
No, that's the absolute truth. And like last week, I was talking and I was telling people about my mom who, uh, my brother needed tutoring, and she was like, "Okay, I know how to bake really well." So she made cookie dough, and they went in our neighborhood and sold cookie dough door to door and covered what he needed, right? And so there are things and tools that people have that can become a actual business. Sometimes it can at least become the water to keep you afloat until you do get that raise or until you find that other job or whatever. So I think that's just a very logical, practical first step. If I don't have enough, I'm going to have to find a way to create the more.
Right.
What I saw growing up was people would do it on project basis.
Hmm.
for my brother. I'll do it for this, but they wouldn't do it long term to actually say, "Oh, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to have enough to start investing."
Mm.
So I want people to go. It doesn't just have to be to get my kid on the trip or to help, but
Right.
it can be a side hustle until it becomes a main hustle, or a side hustle until I no longer need that side hustle.
Right, until you built it into the business. That thing that you do might not be your forever thing that that you do as a business, but it will
Right.
start triggering that mindset, because clarity comes when you're in motion, and that
Mm.
motion will allow you to start looking at other things. Oh, if somebody will buy this, they'll buy that. And if somebody will buy this, they'll buy this thing. So it starts your creative juices to flowing. When I first started looking at how to get myself out of the hole, I was selling spaghetti dinners, not spaghetti dinners by the plate, but we had a potluck at work one time, and they, you have to get the little sign up list and ask you what you're going to bring. And what I said I was going to bring was some spaghetti. One, because spaghetti is cheap to make. But this lady comes to me and she was like, "Oh my God, your spaghetti is so good." And I was like, "Well, thank you." She said, "Would you make a pan for my family?" And I, at first, when you broke, you don't turn down
You're
opportunities.
right. I
I
will.
was like, I was first like, do I want to make spaghetti for somebody else's family? My head got this whole thing, but then also my head was also telling me, "Girl, you broke. Tell that girl a number." So I did. And then other people started asking me for the baked pan of spaghettis. And I started selling through the office those pans of spaghetti. All you got to do is heat it up when you get home and serve your family. And they were excited about that. And then I bought another thing. I bought some strawberry lemonade into work, where I had prepped it the night before. So I froze it into a little block. I cut the strawberries in there. I put some lemon slices and some country time lemonade mix. Well, got to the office, dropped it in some water, and the lady was like, "Oh my God, this will be great. I'm having a party." And she said, "You can add alcohol to this or not." I was like, "I don't care what you do with it, but do you want a bag?" Because I can
Right.
make that for you. I started saying yes to a lot of things to get myself out of debt. But those things that I said yes to then are not things that I'll say yes to now. So
Right.
it could be a temporary fix to your current situation so that you move past it. And then you can start looking with a little bit more clarity on what is it that I really want to do, because I know somebody will buy something from me. Proof of concept is already there, because I
That's
sold
so good.
lemonade, I sold spaghetti.
And as you were thinking, I was like, people always diminish what they think is easy for them, or just whatever. One of the most I talk to wives and moms all the time, and they're like, the biggest decision I have to make every day is what's for dinner. What's for dinner? Or I won't even say the biggest, but the most like nerve wracking, like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna have for dinner? If you can come
Right.
in with a solution, people are like, heck yes, I bought this pan of spaghetti. I know what's for dinner. I may stop by and get some sides, or I have sides at the house or whatever, right? And so even though that may seem like, well, that's not something that's not gonna get you out of debt, that's a solution for a lot of people, and it can help you to start doing those things. And like you said, spaghetti is not even expensive to make, so win-win.
Yep.
So
They
the
got what they
guidance,
needed. I got what I needed.
right? So the guidance for someone who doesn't have enough, who's struggling, is find your thing. Even if it's not your thing, find something that you can do to produce more income.
Correct.
What about someone who says, I'm not struggling day to day, but I'm definitely not balling. I'm not where I want to be. What kind of guidance would you give them that would be maybe the same or different from that first group?
You still have to do the same thing. You have to do an assessment, because now your changes or what you need may be different. No, I don't have bill issues, but I can't build wealth, or I can't save, or I can't put towards my investments because I'm helping everybody. Everybody comes to me as the go-to person because I look like I
Mhm.
got it together. So then you have to understand how to set boundaries around your money and guardrails, so that you're not just giving away everything. Because if you continue to give let me back up. The hardest thing I had to do while getting myself, after I had gotten to a place of, well, now I can swipe a little bit and don't have to worry about my bank account, the guilt and shame that I felt around succeeding and not wanting
Mm.
to help anyone, because not because I can't, but because even in that time, I would be sacrificing my financial wellness in order to get you out of this situation. Now, I'm not saying don't help people, but you also have to look at your finances by knowing where you are to see how you can help, or if you can help, and if you can help outside of and not injure yourself in the process, which is why I said when you start doing your budgeting from a healed perspective, it changes, because now you're setting aside money for giving. This is, you can label money family money. Like, you can give it that name, saying if family comes up to me and they need something, I've already set aside enough funds in order to cover some of the things that may happen to them.
Mhm.
So you're not just giving, and you're not giving from guilt. You're giving from a place of wellness and wholeness. So now you can help those who you want to help without feeling like I gotta do it. No, you don't have to do it. You want to do it. And I'm giving from this place that I've already set aside for
Mm.
this type of thing to happen.
So you said a healed budget a couple times. For people who are watching, how would they know if they are operating from quote unquote a healed budget or a trauma budget or a Lord help me make it? But like, how do you know if you're operating from a healed space or if you're not?
It'll show up by what you value in your budget, because and the heal budget is something that I talk about in From Broken to Banked. um it shows up in what you're prioritizing. It shows up in what you're valuing. It shows up in how you're spending your money. When you are just budgeting to budget, you look at it from a restrictive place. Oh, I can't do this. I can't have the cookies. I can't have this. I'm always having to look at what I can't do. But when you see it from a heal perspective and you work on your traumas, now you're looking at budgeting in, okay, I can do this because it fits within the parameters that I've already set. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about being able to account for those things and then operate in what you have already set on your path or your blueprint for yourself.
Yeah.
So you're not, you know when to say no, you know when to say yes. It doesn't come with anxiety, because you can automatically pull it up and be like, yep, can't do that. This don't fit. Or I can't. And then you're not moving and shifting things around all the time to accommodate your finances, because they are, it's there and it's set aside for those things. So breaking it down differently and making sure that what you value, if you value giving to your family, then in your heal budget you may have a line item that says
Right.
family. If you value tithing and giving to your church and other community outreach projects, it's in your budget and you're setting aside money to do that. It just gives you the opportunity to have that woosah moment when it comes to your money, because you know what's there, you know what's coming in, you would know what's going out, and you know how to treat it when you have it. And it makes you a good steward of your
Mm-hmm.
finances. We're believers.
What
We're
I
supposed to be
heard,
good stewards.
absolutely. No, absolutely. I agree. And I heard you saying a healed budget is an intentional budget. It's
Yes,
not reactive, it's proactive.
correct.
Um, we're
That's it.
saying you don't get to come and just say I need $5,000 and I go, no, for my friends and family I've allotted this much. I can give you this much. So it's intentional, and it doesn't have the anxiety attached to it, because
Right.
it is planned. It's not just, again, it's more proactive rather than reactive is what I'm hearing.
And then you don't have the guilt around, oh my God, I wanted to give them 5,000. I know I can't give them 5,000. Let me move and shift this around so that I can give them 5,000. You don't have to make that type of space for someone. Again, it's not about not helping. It's about making sure that you are intentional, in what you do, and then you're honest with yourself in how you're doing it. Because if you're continuing to give and you have guilt associated and surrounded about that giving because you don't want somebody to think that you feel a certain way because you feel like you made it, then there's trauma still wrapped up in that. And that's
Mhm.
something that you have to work through, because you shouldn't be giving and feeling guilty at the same time. My dad taught me years ago in trading, going to Mr. Lucky store and either paying my tithes at church. He said, if you're going to feel bad about giving the church that money, go get the cookies.
Mm.
Because God loves a cheerful giver. And
Yeah.
we are sometimes begrudgingly giving in spaces where we should be happy to say, I have that overflow. I'm happy
Yeah.
to say I can do that. But if you're not being purposeful and intentional about your budget and your finances and giving it the blueprint, you'll always have something attached to it that makes you feel a certain type of way, and you're not happy about what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Now, you brought up something that I think is great because it was really a tie-in between our mental health and our money. It was, you can be responding, and I think a lot of people are struggling financially because they've never dealt with trauma from their past. So the trauma may say, it could be survivor's guilt of, I made it and my sister didn't.
Right.
So I have to give because I was able to go to college and she sacrificed to stay at home with mama. So now every time she needs something, I have to give it to her. That's a trauma reaction that's causing you to spend in an unhealthy way, right? Of course,
Exactly.
it can also be all types of things as far as, like you said, what we I talked about it last week, retail therapy, where it's, I'm just gonna go spend this because I don't want to deal with other things in my life. So I'm spending in a way, or I'm too afraid to invest because I have to be perfect. And if I lose money, that won't be perfect. And so all of these mindset things and mental health things start to play into what we see in our money. And so I'm really glad you brought that tie in to, oh, you're giving out of a place of guilt, not a place of true desire or a place of obligation. Well, I have to.
Right.
Even if I, you know, even that idea, because you see it all the time, you'll see someone giving from I have to, even though they don't have it for their own stuff.
Mhm.
They'll put themselves in a negative situation because they got to help that grandson that's been in jail for the fourth time, who keeps doing
Right.
the same thing and it's not showing any changes in his behavior, but you keep doing it because you're responding from some mental health or mindset things that aren't healthy. So
Exactly.
yeah, I'm really
Exactly.
glad you brought that tie-in into that. Um, what do you see as working with people? Are some habits that people have that either impact their finances positively or negatively?
Ooh. One thing I see a lot of is what I consider toxic debt, where you have high interest rates, which means that you're giving
Mm.
extra interest to purchase this thing. You're actually using and paying and borrowing from your future in order to have this satisfaction today. So if you're swiping for those shoes, and I'm not saying credit cards are bad, I'm not saying interest rates are bad, it's a part of doing business. It is a
Mhm.
part of, life. That's something that we're going to have to deal with. But there are also ways in which you can work around some of the issues that are present. You don't have to buy the shoes if your interest rate is going to be 29% when you
Ooh,
swipe. So
Jesus.
for every dollar you paying 33 cents. That's like going to, what was the guy on Good Times that used to come in with his
I know
coat
who you're talking
and,
about.
and pimp them out of their money? You don't have to set yourself up like for that. There's a lot of times, the reason why I say that, um, I've been there. There were times that when I wanted the new shoes, when I had to go elsewhere to get the shoes,
Mm.
I had to go to Goodwill and buy cheaper shoes and alcohol wipes in order to get those shoes that was necessary for me to go to this job interview or for me to do this thing. There were times when I had to I've slept on the floor instead of going to rent a center. And
Mhm.
getting my house furnished when I know that the interest rates was going to be 30-40%. And I know that different people have different responsibilities that they have
Mhm.
to respond to when they're making those decisions. Maybe I would not have done that had I had kids. That was, I can sleep on the floor, but I don't want my kids to sleep on the floor. So maybe I would have went to rent a center.
Mhm.
But then there are still ways in which we can do things now to get the same outcome without having to sacrifice our future finances for that moment of coverage that you need there. Um, Facebook Marketplace, you can find some great things at a
Mhm.
reduced price in order to do that. If you're looking for ways in which to switch how you spend until you're able to spend however you want to
Right.
spend. Nothing that I did in that month back then to get to the place that I am now has been permanent. It has all been temporary. So yes, I sacrificed some things back then that, I stopped getting nails. I've never gone back to get my nails done again. I used to get my hair done weekly. Well, when you're broke, weekly hair visits ain't the lick. Now I gotta figure out how I can get my hair done or do my hair. I'm not a good hair doer myself, so that's something that has to stay on the budget. No matter where I am in the journey, somebody gonna have to put me in their shampoo bowl at some point. Um, because I'm a look a mess out here trying to do it myself or have the same ponytail or whatever continuously. So there are certain things when you are building out your financial plan that is going to have to stay there because of your particular circumstances. But when you
Mhm.
start working through those things and get into what you really need, your need versus your wants, you'll be able to build something that you can actually stand on, and it holds true to the values that you have.
Yeah. So again, what I heard is you have to be willing to make some sacrifices and then also recognize what you're not willing to sacrifice. And again, as believers, I think especially when it's like, I need my hair done, God, I need you to bring somebody in that can help a sister out or whatever it is, right? And so, but the sacrifice of knowing where you are and then saying, what am I willing to really look at, um, on top of bringing in extra money? So it's
Yes,
a lot of moving parts, but also I think it's very necessary to be
absolutely.
able to change where we are. So one of the habits you said was not knowing. Um, what about some things that you feel like are some good habits that you see with people?
Um, I see people being a little bit more intentional now with learning to invest or to put aside for savings, trying not to fit into that statistic. So they're realizing the value of investing in someone that's going to financially coach you through the thing. Because I built a lot of things that I did, spreadsheets and stuff, because I was like, I don't even have the money to pay for this. Now, in the mindset that I have now, I probably would have paid somebody to help me go through it instead of trying to figure it out. But I think that makes me good at what I do now because
Mhm.
I did do the manual way
Right.
of getting through it and being able to be on the other side of it now. But when you start looking at how you invest your money and what's going to bring you value over time, it'll switch where you put your money. So I think people are starting to realize that we need therapists. People are starting to realize that, well, let's stay there for a second. Going to a therapist doesn't mean that you have an issue. We go to a doctor for everything else, but when it
Mhm.
comes to therapy, we don't feel bad if we hit our toe and then we go to the emergency room. But when your mind is not grasping concepts that you need in order to live well, it shouldn't be a trauma or a stigma around going to a therapist or someone that could help you cycle through all of the thoughts and things that you're having and make it make sense.
Mhm.
Most people, when you talk about people who are creatives and that, you got 1,000 browsers open in your head. You know how
And on my
easy it
computer.
is to just go to a therapist and say, I have 1,000 browsers open. Can you help me make sense of this? It should become second nature of
Mhm.
getting the coaches and the people that you need in order to help you be well in your moment. And sometimes that cost may seem like a lot and a stretch, but the value that you receive over time will be something that, you know, that you can live on and eat off of forever. But that initial sacrifice, and sometimes getting over the hump, is making the sacrifice into those things.
Yeah.
First coaching program that I went to, I had to swallow hard because I was like, Lord, you already know I came here not having. I came to
Right.
get some nuggets to make me better. And then I got this coaching program that they saying is this number with a comma. And I got this
Exactly.
thing over here. You know, but when you understand cost and value, then it becomes a simple thing of saying, okay, I can put my money here because I know over time it's going to give me the return on that investment that's going to make me better long term and for years to come. Because you don't lose the knowledge once you gain it. You don't use the learn of the knowledge. You might not apply it, but you don't
Right.
lose the knowledge. It stays there. You just now have to start interjecting it into your life.
Then you said something really good. You talked about cost versus value. And I think people skim over that part. Sometimes there may be a program that is 4 digits, 5 digits, or more. And people will go, I can't do that. And Crystal talked about it. I talked about it last week as well. First, max out where you are, what you can afford. YouTube, read books, do all those things. But when you get to that point where I actually need to do that, go, is the value of what I'm going to get out of that going to be something that can actually change my life so I don't have to make this decision next year? I can remember investing in a program and having to pay. I actually attended the event still having a payment like at the end.
I've
And
been there.
and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go and hopefully they'll let me in because I haven't made my last payment. I was like, I'm going to, I did. I made my last payment, but it was after the event that I actually made the last payment. But I made a vow that I was going to implement what I learned in that event so that the next year it wouldn't be that way. And the next year I attended the event, the payment was before. The year after that, I had paid for it all at once and not a payment plan. And so I was like, oh, the value was there. I just had to say, I'm so glad I actually used what I had because again, I went and they could have said I couldn't get in because I had made that last payment. Thankfully, they were gracious. I went. The next year I saw progress, and the next year I saw even more progress. It was like, oh, I didn't even have to do that on a payment plan. And that's where I think people aren't willing to say, okay, I'm here, but I can take what I'm getting, get the value from this so that I don't have to stay here.
Right. And you always have that thing as a reference to go back to. One of the programs that I paid money to, great program. I met some awesome people in the program, and those people helped me. I got value out of the people as well as the product, if that makes sense. Like
Absolutely.
the people helped me. We were not struggling, but we were going through it together. So being able to lean on someone else and say, hey, I got this problem. And then it kind of morphed out of that. Oh, I hear about this opportunity. You might be interested in this. Or what about this? And now we are sharing information with each other because we had that point of reference, which is that class, that whatever it is that you're paying to get into. Now you've met people. But if you're not working to meet the people that you're being introduced to that is probably outside of your norm, you probably won't get to this place. But if you're maximizing that value in that opportunity of being in the room, is I'm meeting the people, I'm writing down who said what in there so I know who to touch back on. Oh, so a safe space.
Okay, you
Do
paused
so.
there for a moment. But what I think I heard from you was not just the program, but invest in the growth from all the aspects, because sometimes it's not the speaker that you're going to stay connected to, or the presenters or the host of the event, but it may be that sister beside you that was walking that journey that also
Right.
tells you about an opportunity that they learned about, which is the thing that propels your life or whatever. And so I that's so good. Like, that's investment as well. I got another
Right.
question for you. How can people shift their relationship with money? And again, sometimes I think when we say relationship with money, people go, I don't have a relationship with money, but we all do. We love money, or we are scared of it, or we have some kind of relationship. How do you think what do you say from your perspective of how you can shift that relationship or make it a more healthy perspective?
So there's this thing in from broken to back. It's funny that I get to plug something like in my
You better
book.
plug.
I
You
get
better
to plug
plug,
me
sis.
in my book. We talk about, but it's you could do this exercise that's in the book. It's called a money mindset map. And it starts from, whatever your first introduction is to money, the thing that you remember. Like I talked earlier and said, my parents argued about finances. So
Yeah.
I think finances is an argument. Then at 14, you had an incident that shaped you. Then at 17, you had another one. Then I'm at college at 18 and I have people introducing me to credit cards. And then at 24, I did this. Then at 27, I'm married. At 30. So once you start mapping out what your thoughts
Mm.
were about money based upon those
Yeah.
triggers and things that you've experienced, now you're able to shift, because now I can switch the narrative. And I can't switch the narrative if I don't go through that mind mapping of what is my relationship with money?
What is the narrative?
Right. So until I do that mind mapping and saying, oh, so this is why I do this, or this is
Mhm.
why this happens because I heard this. But once you do that mind mapping exercise and you start plotting through what it is that your triggers are to money, your memories are to money, and then now you can fight those things. Now I know that having a conversation with my significant other is not something that'll lead to an argument in finances, because in my house, we talk openly about finances. You start making declarations so that
Mhm.
what your trauma was or what your bad memory was, you're not operating in those same spaces. So that's
Mhm.
how I had to do it. I had to start writing out, what is it? What are my triggers? What is my relationship with money? What do I think about money? Yes,
Yeah.
I want to have it, but what is it that really is stopping me or preventing me from generating the wealth that I know I am deserving of, because my father is the king.
Right. You know what? When you said that, I thought several thoughts. One was, I remember working with someone who was highly successful, like big, big, big money. And they would always say they worked so hard because um, there was this fear of having to be, I forgot what it was, like a teacher or a truck driver or something. And it was like, why do you think you have to be one of those two, whatever that thing was? And they'd start to share this story about childhood. But they were always, even though they had a crazy amount of money, insane amounts, they were also very, very fearful of losing it, because they thought they would end up being whatever that profession was. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's those moments of saying, oh, wow, I'm operating, even though I have this money, my relationship with money isn't healthy. And so I love that exercise. I think everybody should, it's on the screen now. SabrinaFisher.myshopify.com. Make sure you get the book. Go get the book. Why? Because again, this is one of those moments where you may say, I don't have $7,000 to invest in some class or some program, but I can get this book and I can read this book and apply it so that I'm making progress, and I can keep doing that until I have my $7,000 or my 20,000 or whatever. Um,
Right.
so again, I think that's very important. Any last words or any last thoughts from our conversation that would help you? This has been so good. I hope the people, yeah, has this helped y'all? Talk to me. Has this helped um, tell me how you're feeling, what you learned, what your nuggets are. Share the video. I know we're almost at the end, but share it so people can watch the replay.
First, I'm gonna share. There's not one password that works that I've been putting into my computer to be able to share, but I will make sure I share and continue to share and share it in my groups as well. As some closing thing, I kind of wrote a little something down because I wanted to make sure that I did say it.
Mhm.
So that we realize that money is not just math, it's mindset, it's habits, it's healing. You are not your financial past and you are not stuck where you are. And I wanted to make sure that people understood that. It's not just balancing something and making it work. It's where it's coming from your heart and your head.
Yeah.
And then healing those places so that you are better and you're thinking differently about money. Money is not scary and spooky. Wealth is not scary and spooky. You not gonna become the wicked because you start getting wealth. If you start setting intentions of how you handle yourself with money, you don't have to worry about being wicked because you've already built it into your plan of how you're going to treat your money as you have it and as you grow it. So once you do that, you kind of start changing your mindset on how you look at things and how things are presented to you, what guardrails you need in order to ensure that your finances is on the path to ensure that your generations have that knowledge that's needed to continue forward from where you are. How I see my nephew interact with money is totally different than what I did at his age. But that's also because he saw different examples than what we did when we were growing up. So the expectation is the next generation be better and do better. And I'm so blessed to be able to see, my nephew operating differently and thinking about things more intentionally than anything I ever did at his age.
Yeah. And that is because you or his mom or someone in a different generation decided we're going to do something different. We're going to
Right.
show him something different.
Yes. And now he can see you can be a multi-property owner. You can buy assets. You can
Mhm.
do other things in order to build wealth. And it doesn't just mean I'm breaking my back at this 9 to 5
Yeah.
every day and just going in here so that I can cover these bills. It's I can do more with what I have. I deserve more. I am more. I can get more. Wealth
Yes.
is for me and I'm gonna build it.
I love it. Y'all better say that with your chest. So
Yes.
again, Sabrina, thank you so much for agreeing to come here. I think it's so critical that we do have these conversations because the truth of the matter is if we're stressed about money, it's impacting our whole life, even how we operate on the job that we do have. Sometimes people are like, I can't even concentrate because I'm so focused or on what
Sitting
I
there
don't
mad.
have or all of that stuff. Christy, congratulations on attending a financial wellness class last night. People are over here. I don't know. You probably can't see the comments here, but people are saying, thank you so much. It's so good. Um, yeah, just all kinds of things. The heal budget. I think this is on time. Make sure y'all next week we're coming right back here. Thursday at 12, we're going to have Pastor Sean Strickland closing out my birthday month. Yes, because y'all know how many days it is until my birthday? 6. It is 6 days until my birthday. I don't know what y'all going to do with that information, but you should definitely govern yourselves accordingly. So, yeah, I think it is just so important that we do take this time to um, look at ourselves, look at our money. I love that map. I'm going to order the book because not only do I want to support you, I want to learn, I want to grow. And I know there's going to be something in there that I can use and help myself, help my family, and all of those things. So make sure y'all go and order the book. Give a shout out to Sabrina. Let her know, give hearts, give fire, let her know how she helped you. Thank you so very much. If you need something from me, let me know. I guess that's everything. You guys know if you have a topic or issue that you want us to cover on Minding My Mental Health, shoot me an email. We'll see if that's something we can cover. And so if you need some counseling or anything, reach out. If I know you and I can't be your counselor, let me know. I can try to help you link up with somebody in your area if I know somebody. I don't always know people in other states, but yeah, just allow yourselves to listen to this over and over again. She dropped a bunch of nuggets. Go back and listen again, so that you can be better, and order the book. So thank you again, Sabrina. We will see you all here next Thursday. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Breaking misconceptions, fallacies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, non-judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind and on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, non-judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind and on my mental. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental health. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental health.